The use of drugs during war is not a new phenomenon. In fact, the use of drugs in warfare stretches back to antiquity and has been documented by historians from Napoleon to Genghis Khan. However, what truly sets World War II apart was the massive demand for drugs, which subsequently led to the production and supply of drugs never seen before in human history. Drugs were being taken by everyone from the soldiers to factory workers to even housewives. Recent publications have revealed that narcotics were as much a part of the conflict as bullets, often defining key moments of the war. Generals on both sides of the war believed that drugs before a battle could provide a bonding experience, act as an outlet for stress, and even boost combat effectiveness. Hence, they were seen as having a very crucial role in the war. The Third Reich in particular was riddled with narcotics, including cocaine, heroin, and most notably crystal meth, which was taken by regular soldiers to the upper echelon of the German military. Even Hitler himself consumed an astonishing amount of drugs daily, with eucodal, a pharmaceutical cousin of heroin, being his favorite. In his book Blitzed, German author Norman Oder details a history of abuse by Adolf Hitler and his henchmen, and releases previously unpublished archived findings about Dr. Theodor Morell, the personal physician who administered drugs to both the German leader and the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. As mentioned previously, crystal meth, or otherwise referred to as methamphetamine, was the drug of choice for most Germans. The German army experimented heavily with methamphetamines during the war, which was used as a stimulant to combat fatigue. It was often given to soldiers in the form of tablets called pervitin, which helped them stay awake for long periods of time. During one of the most important moments of World War II, the invasion of France, it is believed 35 million pervitin pills were delivered to frontline German soldiers, helping them swiftly conquer France. Many historians to this point have discussed the huge demand for drugs during the war, but what is often overlooked and equally shocking was the production scale created to meet these demands. How was the German army able to send 35 million tablets of pervitin during the invasion of France? Well, they accomplished it by mass-producing drugs on a scale never witnessed before in human history. You see, during World War II, almost every industry had been converted to help the war effort. Factories that, before produced cars, during the war made tanks. Ship makers who made commercial ships in the war economy were asked to make submarines, and so on and so forth. In this same way, large pharmaceutical companies were asked to focus all their efforts on producing drugs that would help win their prospective countries the war. And luckily for Nazi Germany, one of the biggest pharmaceutical makers in the world, the Temmler Pharmaceutical Company, was based in Berlin. During the height of the war, the Temmler Pharmaceutical Company was producing millions of pervitin tablets daily. Berlin became such a hub for opioid and methamphetamine production that the city alone was responsible for 40% of the world's production. It is also very important to note that the Germans were not the only ones using drugs. After seeing the quick conquest of France and the relentless pace of the German attack, word had gotten out that the German soldiers were under the influence of mind-altering drugs. Hearing this, British generals started to experiment with their own versions of drugs to help their soldiers fight off the Nazi invasion. Benzedrine, an amphetamine, quickly emerged as a suitable counter to the German pervitin pills. Benzedrine was an instant hit among the Allied soldiers and soon started to be mass-produced. Interestingly enough, the Russian Red Army also had its own version of mind-altering narcotics, but to a lesser extent than the Nazis and the British. Since the Russian army mainly fought on the Eastern Front, the cold was their biggest problem, and so they leaned more heavily on alcohol, particularly vodka, to help them keep warm. Still, it is astonishing just how influential drugs were during the war. Soldiers were put in extremely stressful situations and faced a level of daily trauma not imaginable by audiences today. so it's reasonable to see why soldiers relied so heavily on drugs. Yet, one still wonders how things might have turned out differently if they were not so widely consumed. Perhaps the war might have ended sooner. If you liked watching this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.